In the 1650s, the first Dutch ships sailed into the harbor where Penjaros is found today. Vast plantations were established on the mainland, and the colonizers extracted spices, coffee, tea, sugar, rubber, oil, and various metals, all with the labor of the indigenous population. Through all that extraction, some grew very wealthy, while many grew very poor. From that time period, a legacy can be traced through a handful of families who made their fortune in the trade of colonial resources. What we see here is the home of one of those families. Rather modest by the standards of Penjaros, it would still take 50 years of hard labor for the average worker to live a week in such a home. It takes a very specific kind of person to be so wealthy and yet still live in Penjaros. People who live like this are generally people who, in every practical sense, own Penjaros, whether through real estate, the utilities, auto sales, the various exports. Penjaros, its land, its waters, and in all practicality its people, are theirs. These people come from money built on blood, and they have turned a select few locations in the city into a personal paradise. Welcome back to Penjaros. This time, I've expanded some neighborhoods, part of the canals, and I've built the first wealthy home in the city. I figured it wasn't nearly enough to have merely gated communities in Penjaros. There might be some of those, but I think the wealthy part of the city will essentially be a micro-city within Penjaros, elevated above the rest of the city. This first house sits on a pedestal, elevated above even the freeway, and is virtually inaccessible. The freeway entrance to the place is watched at all times by armed guards, and is used only by waste collection and other city staff who serve the house. Otherwise, people come and go from the grounds by private helicopter. The neighborhood I built beside it is easily the densest thing I've ever built. The street below the freeway is a busy shopping street, but everything surrounding it is entirely residential. Ideally, the population would reflect the density, but I don't have the patience to fiddle with mods to make that happen. As I said in the first episode, this is all about contrast. The people down below live brutally hard lives. The ones with a tiny apartment on a cramped street below a freeway are the lucky ones. They don't live in a shack on the canal or in a back alley. But even that is an unstable situation. Much of the housing in Penjaros is untenable, built as quickly as possible and poorly maintained, so demolitions and reconstruction are frequent, and employment is a gamble at best, with many people on 0-hour contracts or hired by the day as demand dictates. The single family living up above hardly has a care in the world. Because of all the pain and hardship below, they live well. What they do hardly classifies as work, at least compared to those working the docks or the sweatshops that they own. Their needs are seen to by a full staff of people, some of which even live on the grounds with them. They don't worry about food or water, they don't worry about shelter. If it's hot, they go for a swim. If the air quality is poor, they stay inside. If they get sick, they go to a private hospital. Their children go to private schools for the finest education. They have spare time, space, and money for gardening, swimming, reading, films and television, golf and tennis, music. All this thanks to their bloody legacy and the hard work of others. Sorry for a short and rather bleak episode. The nature of this project makes planning pretty hard, so I'm releasing things as they feel complete. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.